Okay, I come to you today with a a different kind of video. I'm going to be discussing gatekeeping. I feel like it's been a popular topic of conversation in the Pokemon community of late. It's getting called out a lot, which is good. And because things get called out with more frequency, sometimes they can appear more prevalent than before. And I think what's happening is probably a shifting of what is and is not acceptable behavior within Pokemon community and perhaps other communities of the sort. And gatekeeping finds itself on the list of not so acceptable. And so we see some public examples of it. But I think this is a sign of progress that there's so many people rallying behind supporting those who have been on the receiving end of some hateful comments or aggressive, resentful comments at the very least. What I want to do with this video is just peel back the layers a bit, see if we can forge a deeper level of understanding, all of us, one with another. First off, let me state one of the wonderful things about Pokemon is that it's an escape. It's a fantasy. It's a fiction. It's not real life. It's a break from real life. Oftentimes, it's people disengaging with an actual set of problems at their job, with their family, whatever it may be, to come to a place of delight and happiness and creativity. All of these things. This is why people come to Pokemon. It's not politics, people. People don't come here to try and solve world hunger. You know, we're off the clock, largely. There are some people who have made this a profession, but most of us, it's just a casual hobby. Maybe it's not even casual, maybe it's serious, but it's a hobby. It's something that we do for recreation, for fun, to make us feel good. The last thing that you want to have happen is come to this place of refuge from the stresses and strain of the world and be met with stress and strain and toxicity and mean people, arguments, confrontations. We can disagree about the mechanics of the card game. We can disagree about which Pokemon is designed poorly and which ones are more powerful. We can disagree about all these pointless things. And that's the whole point, is to be able to talk about this in a fun, lighthearted, good-natured, good-spirited way. That's the whole point. We can't lose sight of that. If we create an environment that is more stressful and toxic than the real world, people are just going to go back to the real world. That does nobody any good. That increases the chance that this thing will die in 20 years. We don't want that. We want our kids and our kids' kids and their kids and the whole line. For as long as the earth exists, we want Pokemon to be a part of it. If we're going to achieve that, we need to be supportive of each other. And we can't have this kind of gatekeeper attitude. Now, let me define gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is when someone takes it upon themselves to decide who does or does not have access or rights to a community or identity. There is a productive use case for gatekeeping in which you call out people who are inauthentic, truly inauthentic, and attempting to exploit others in the community for personal, financial, or social gain. The most obvious example of this is scammers or scalpers, opportunists that happen upon the hobby and they don't care about the underlying subject at all. They have no passion for the actual contents of the thing that they're involved with. It's a means to an end. That type of behavior is bad. That will erode the foundation that supports the community. So there's good gatekeeping. It's not all bad, but a lot of it is bad. And when you hear people refer to gatekeepers in this sense, typically referring to a toxic style of behavior. Recent examples I've seen of gatekeeping are making fun of somebody who has a smaller collection, a weaker collection, somebody who doesn't collect the right products, they're into modern instead of vintage, criticizing somebody for not engaging in the hobby the right way, thinking there is a right way to participate in the hobby. Criticizing somebody for not fitting within the target demographic of the hobby. And I'll touch on that one a bit more later. It's like a lot of, what's the appropriate way of saying it? It's a lot of foot measuring contests going on out there. A lot of people going foot to foot, see who's got the biggest feet, Like it's really important who's got them monster feet, man. I'm talking a mile long. We want those big old feet out there. People who engage in this type of behavior, they think an injustice is being done. They criticize somebody else for being a part of the hobby that they so cherish. And they think that this other person isn't as loyal or as committed as they are. They're looking to be acknowledged as superior, credited for their commitment. They're hoping that they will receive more positive attention and accolades from the community generally. I don't necessarily believe their goal is actually to discourage participation in the hobby, because they need people who are a part of the community so that they can receive the credit that they're hoping for. They need other people who value the thing that they're doing and are willing to say, wow, you do it so good. They need that. They're living for that. They're hoping to flip this person from somebody who doesn't know they exist into somebody that now has an exceptional fondness for them. Interesting to think that spewing hate is going to help you achieve that goal. It's not. There's a better way to do it. And also, question why you need the validation that you think you do. Why are you engaged in the hobby? Is it to feel superior? Is it to place yourself at the top of some sort of imagined hierarchy? Because at the end of the day, that could be viewed as pretty inauthentic. That might not be the most loyal or committed approach to the actual subject matter. That feels like a play at some sort of social engineering rather than a divine interest in these adorable creatures. I don't know, just a thought. So going back to that feeling of injustice, you've been here the whole time. You see somebody else pop on the scene, they're getting mad attention. Now you're thinking, I gotta right this ship. This doesn't feel right to me. They shouldn't be getting that amount of attention. There's a few things to consider here. Why do people get attention on social media? It's not necessarily because of dedication to a specific hobby. It's not even necessarily because of an incredible capacity for knowledge or intellectual thought. There are certain people that are more entertaining than others. It's just the case. Attention is rewarding the entertainment value, not the Pokemon collector's scorecard value. In this sense, if somebody that was less entertaining were to get more attention than somebody that was more entertaining, that would be an injustice, right? Regardless of how long you'd been in the hobby and how big your collection was. So the justice is only being served on an attention to entertainment basis. You have to think of it that way. Don't feel scorned because you see a very popular creator who has a smaller collection or a more basic understanding of the hobby. They're probably just a really entertaining person. And we love those people. All of us do. As most of who we're consuming when we're on social media are people like that. It's okay if you're not as entertaining as someone else. There are other places to experience the validation for your commitment to the hobby. I'm thinking of like Collecticon or conventions where you can go put your full collection on display. People who are truly interested in that kind of thing can walk up to you and start asking you questions. You can have a human interaction. How long you've been collecting? Wow, this is impressive. Like, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for validation that you've been doing a good job at the thing that you care so much about. Criticizing somebody else for getting more attention than you is never going to get you closer to that goal. Ever. It's going to burn bridges in a community that you'll desperately need them in. You should be reaching out to people like that and supporting them, honestly, because they're going to garner more attention for your hobby, for your community, and they're going to bring more people into the space that you can meet at Collecticon that might be interested in buying your $150,000 PSA 10 base set card. It will all be good. There will be a natural reinforcement of positivity if that's what you project and give to the world. So don't lash out with negativity. Here's the actual result of negativity and toxicity and calling people out for stupid things, being petty and frivolous, and not just letting other people engage with the hobby in the way that they choose at the level that they're at. Here's the actual result. Other hobbyists are made to feel like garbage for no reason. Someone's enthusiasm for the hobby is stifled and their involvement discouraged. The gatekeeper often will get called out, publicly exposed. They'll receive the exact opposite type of attention they were hoping to. Maybe even to the point of being collectively shunned by people that they actually did respect. Oof. You don't want that. You don't want the people who you actually look up to turn on you. Then you're forced out. If you believe in the law of scarcity, you're likely to get it. Less seats at the table, and eventually it might be your own seat that gets removed. So don't believe in that. Don't preach that. It's a world of abundance. There's room for everyone. No one wants to be the most devoted person to a hobby that no one else cares about. That is of no value. Even if you're a person who seeks credit and validation for your commitment, it requires a community for that validation to mean anything. And you should be trying to encourage and foster a positive sense of community if you're looking to connect and have positive human interactions that will be meaningful to you. So yeah, that's why it's bad for the community. It does no good. It doesn't do good for the person who exemplifies the behavior. It obviously doesn't do good for the person who's on the receiving end of that type of behavior. It creates a toxic environment that no one wants to be a part of. Perhaps the drama is interesting, okay? Perhaps there are views to be gained from the back and forth. But if that's the prevailing attitude and sentiment and experience for everyone, there aren't going to be many that find it worth it to remain involved. The last thing I wanted to talk about was misogyny and gatekeeping. And this, I mean, I'm no expert here. I just am kind of relaying some of the things that I've seen on Instagram, and it seems like there's an overwhelming amount of resentment being directed toward female hobbyists on the basis of their gender. That's obviously lame. It's great to have more female collectors in the hobby. I have 2 daughters. I teach them about Pokemon. They love Pokemon. My daughter's 3 years old. She thinks she knows all of the Gen 1 Pokemon, mostly because that's kind of where we started. That's what I grew up with. And she is hooked just as much as any small boy might be. And like I said, Pokemon was probably positioned in the market toward a male demographic, and that is probably the biggest, most prevailing reason as to why there is a predominantly male fan base. It's not because Sylveon and Pikachu are so masculine that only men could be interested in this. This obviously has widespread appeal. That is part of the beauty of Pokemon, is there's something there for everyone. And we should be welcoming to people who maybe don't look like us, and they probably won't engage in the hobby the same as we do if they have different interests, if they have different values than us. But there's something there for them. And it will make for an interesting environment where we can have discussions about why do you like this Pokemon over that Pokemon? Frivolous things that we can talk endlessly about. It does not detract at all from your experience to have other people entering and engaging with it also, even if they do so differently. You can still get the exact same value. You might even meet a few girls. Gatekeeping, it's a thing. It happens, and hopefully this was a little bit helpful to understand what causes this behavior and maybe some more productive pathways out of feeling resentful or frustrated by your experience in Pokemon. Hope you liked it. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. Pull the shiny Charizard, I'm feeling so alive, yeah. I am like a legendary flying